If 15-year-old Sam could know that this is what I was doing, I would be flipping out. In fact, I do. I'm so grateful that this is... And success is a really interesting thing to think about because I don't know if I'm successful. I don't know what that is. Yeah. But what I do know is that I love it. And that actually is the driving force of it. I love rising to a challenge without it taking away my confidence. I think it can be wobbly when you have to rise to a challenge and you're scared, but I love rising to a challenge when there's unknown in front of you.
Hello and welcome to The Dive. Now more than ever, we need to be finding ways to help us navigate the challenges of being an artist. You're listening to The Dive podcast, a show specifically designed for performing artists to help you stop the stress and overwhelm and instead find ways to get on stage with confidence, passion, and ease. I'm your host, Taylor Scanlon. I'm a fellow performing artist and founder of The Dive, the fastest growing support platform for performing artists. Each and every week, we have a brand new guest on the show who is a professional in the industry to discuss their unique stories and help us tackle the industry challenges to help you perform, rest, and excel at your peak. I believe that we all have a unique story to share, but most of our struggles are common. So without further ado, let's dive right in, let's get to work and create a career of a lifetime. Well, thank you for being on the show, Sam. It's awesome to see you.
I'm very excited that you asked me.
Of course. And I was making a joke just before. A lot of the people that I get onto the show are obviously to help all of you performers out there kind of learn how do we navigate the challenges we face as artists, but also it's kind of selfish for me. I just want to meet up with everyone.
We were just saying that we don't even know the last time we were chatting in the same room together. We're always hi, bye, great to see you. You look great. Well done, congrats.
Oh, it's so awesome. And we actually met back when at Patrick Studios Australia, now the infamous Patrick School of the Arts.
Yes.
And maybe that's a great way to kind of start with your training. I know you've trained in many places of, specifically even into acting and dialect and all of that, but did it really start at Patrick Studios for you, or was there a little time before that?
Yeah, we were having a love fest about how much we loved PSA. It did start before that. I think my love of art started. I went to a musical theatre school called the Children's Performing Company of Australia, where I did a little bit of everything. It was great for my passion and my love, but then I realised when I got to an older age that my skill level was pretty subpar and that I needed to really step it up. Right. And in the search for what I was going to do, somehow I landed in the lap of Todd Patrick about to start Patrick Studios Australia. So I was in the first year that the school was founded.
Wow.
Which was so long ago.
Is that even when it was in that?
It was in a town hall in Balaclava.
Yes.
Like a little hall. Like
near
a
the train goes over it,
And it was tiny. And I think there was only 20 of us in our first year. Very, very small. The most incredibly talented, kind, encouraging people you could be in a year of training with.
Yeah.
And I felt very far out of my depths. There was many days of crying afterwards, being like, what am I doing? I felt like I had such a far way to go, and I actually spent 4 years at PSA.
Oh, wow.
It was only a 1-year course at the time.
Well, that sometimes happens like that.
And I just had this ambition to keep training until I was, until it felt right, until I was as not as good as I could be, because I still don't feel like I'm as good as I feel like we can always grow. Yeah. But until I was ready, and within those years, a few little jobs or contracts did sneak in, and I kept being like, no, I feel like I need to stay. Within that, I did 3 years of full-time dance with PSA, and while I was there, I was taking private singing lessons and going to acting studios and taking classes privately. So I felt like the right step for me was to be in an institution that focused on dance, because I feel like that's the discipline that needs the most amount of time in terms of on the floor time. And then I sung every day and acted and did all those things outside of that. And for me, that was the right combination. I often get asked, what school should I go to? What should I do? And it's so, I'll never tell someone you should go to PSA or you should go to WAPA, because it's so individual to how the person operates and works, I think. It was for me anyway. Yeah. And I've had so many, obviously my foundation came from PSA, and Todd Patrick guided me and loved me and cared for me so greatly. And I also had Andrew Hallsworth that was guiding me through my training and career. But then I had these amazing other people. Like I took class outside of PSA as well, and had the amazing influence from people like Dana Jolly, Rob Sturrock, that I just loved learning from as well, and really broadening that horizon. And my incredible vocal coach is Tim Smith, and he has been my vocal coach since I was at that age.
Yeah,
and
wow.
he's just
amazing.
He is my god of voice.
Yes.
I love him. And he's done so much for me as a person, and which is the same as Todd, and as an artist. And I studied with Colette Mann privately and went to lots of the different institutions, both here in Melbourne and in Sydney, because I lived in Sydney for quite a few years. So a real selection of different training institutions. And I think for me, that was the best thing to take from every different person that I met. And then I continued learning when I was lucky enough to be in shows, and would watch the people next to me and be like, wow, how do they do that? And just observed them so much. So I felt like my training also came from that. And I still love training. I still love going to class, even though my confidence is sometimes a little shook, and I don't feel like, I've still got lots of self-doubt that creeps in, and maybe it's harder sometimes going to class when you're not a student. But I still love it.
I feel you.
Yeah.
It's such a thing. A little sidetrack note here. I know you mentioned Colette Mann. A little side story.
Side story.
It's because of Colette Mann that I actually heard about PSA. So back when I was choosing whether to go back playing football or not, my dad just so happened to fix washing machines and dryers.
Hang on, wait, you played football? That's okay, great.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yes.
I love this.
Yes.
Didn't know that.
No. And my dad just happened to have on call to go fix this woman's, whatever it was. I think it was a washing machine, and it was at Colette Mann's house.
You're joking.
And then my dad being like, oh, he's got to do something. He's, running around playing costumes and whatever. And she's putting costumes on, or running around naked, or climbing a tree, or had to be put somewhere, basically. And I think maybe secretly he knew that maybe football was not the one.
You must have been young. How old were you?
Yeah, I was like 13.
We would have met when you were early teens.
Yeah, young. Anyway, cut long story short, Colette Mann suggested to go to PSA or talk to Todd Patrick, and that's literally how
I love this story.
Literally,
so
because my
great.
dad got a call that could have easily been like, oh, I'm busy now, just like how it all kind of aligned. And
serendipitous.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that, we were able to connect from that school, and a lot of people that we've been able to learn from and work with and study with as well. Was there a time where after your training, that you worked straight away, or did you have a period where you didn't work?
That's tricky, because I guess I kept training.
Yeah.
I was very passionate about wanting to do musicals, but I knew I had a lot of work to do, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I'm very hard on myself in that way. So it was kind of like, I used to have this saying in high school that was like, you ready for it? I don't know if I believe in this wholeheartedly now. It went good, better, best.
Forget about the rest?
That would be better. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better best. Now, part of that I still love. And I'm like, yes, that's drive, and that's education, and that's growth. And then a part of that was perfectionism, to be like, no, you're never good enough. So I think that within my training, I was like, no, I just got to keep training. But as I mentioned, I think I did a couple of I did a production company show while I was at training, and then I'd been offered a couple of contracts at the end of my third year of one was at one of the Disneys, and then maybe that was my second year, and then I didn't take that, and I stayed one more year, and then I got my first job, which was at Universal Studios Japan in the musical Wicked. So they did a condensed version of Wicked then. I did a whole bunch of other shows while I was there as well, and it was the best choice, the best option for me. I loved my time in Japan. I loved Japan.
How long were you there for?
About 12 months. And I loved what the contract taught me. It was really hard work, because you do a number of shows a day. It's like stop-start, and you don't get the validation of doing it in front of people that you know, which I actually prefer now later in my career and life. I could perform for strangers every day of the week. And in fact, I actually don't like performing for peers and people I know, because I get so nervous and so stressed out about that. It was really hard work, and I made some lifelong friends, and I really had time to grow and make mistakes and experience things and learn. And then I came back and I did the first year of the musical theatre course that PSA was developing, that was led by Andrew Halsworth at the time.
Oh, wow. So you went away, had some experience working, and then came back and even developed even more.
And I was more driven when I came back because the experiences I had while I was away really shaped what I really knew I wanted to do then.
And probably opened the door to be like, oh, I'm not so confident in this. I want to go and head back and work on this.
100%. And I'd worked all that time on my dance skills, and then I really wanted to hone in then on my vocals and my acting, and also life experience as well. Like that's a big thing that I think has shaped. And you hear it, like I used to hear it when people used to audition for drama school, like go get some life experience. And everyone's like, what does that mean? And now I am still having life experiences. But yeah, it does shape who you are as a person, and therefore shapes who you are as a performer, I think.
For sure. And then so you came back for just the 1 year to do the MT, was it? Yeah.
And then I got my first job, which was like commercial touring show, which was a chorus line. And it was the most euphoric experience.
I remember seeing it. Like, it feels like quite a long time
It
now.
was a long time ago. yeah, it was.
But yeah, what was that like?
It was incredible. And I understudied 5 or 6 of the principal roles.
Wow.
Well, I mean, everyone's a principal in the show. So I was a swing/cover in it. It was really challenging. The perfectionist in me has understudied a lot, but
it's a tough show.
It is a tough show.
Yeah.
It's really challenging, but I love hard work. I love grit. I love rising to a challenge without it taking away my confidence. You know, I think it can be wobbly when you have to rise to a challenge and you're scared, but I love rising to a challenge when there's unknown in front of you. And so that was very much that. And I had the most amazing cast who I looked up to, and I understudied the most amazing people, and I learned a lot about myself during that time.
I think I remember doing a class. You think you came back and taught like a chorus line. I think we did it at the Plummer Street studios in Melbourne.
Yeah. And I still teach it now because it's just one of the most special shows, because it's our story.
Yeah.
It's a story of performers, and I connected to each and every of those characters that I understudied because a version of them was within me.
Yeah, within a lot of us. That are
Absolutely.
performers. And then so you went on, I mean, to do amazing things. I played in Wicked again, I think, didn't you?
I did a version of it up on the Gold Coast at Hoda, however you like to say it, for Matt Ward Entertainment. And that was incredible. And it was like a full 180. I always wanted to play Elphaba. And at first it was a funny story because I was like, I can't do it. When suggestion of me doing it, I was like, no, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. And then I just loved it so much, and it was the right fit for me. So yes, I did that.
Yeah, you did lots of other things. I mean, like you said, I don't know if you mentioned, Anything Goes as well, and a chorus line, and King Kong, and all of the list of things. And it's just been wonderful watching you and seeing you shine and seeing each other from afar. To different theatres along the way.
And look, if 15-year-old Sam could know that this is what I was doing, I would be flipping out. In fact, I do. I'm so grateful that this is my job. And success is a really interesting thing to think about because I don't know if I'm successful. I don't know what that is, but what I do know is that I love it, and that actually is the driving force of it. And there have been times where I haven't loved it, or my fear or circumstances have dragged that down, and self-doubt and things like that. But primarily, love always wins. That's good.
That's
quote
good.
That. I think that already is a quote.
Always wins. Well, this is perfect going into maybe some of the topics now that you also experienced along your journey, and things like comparison and even some injuries that you explored through your career. Do you want to talk a little bit more about maybe some of those injuries and what they kind of... I think every injury shapes you differently, and you get to learn a lot of different things. Yeah,
they're not always negative experiences. At the time they are, but they always pass. And I've had a few people reach out to me because they know I've had some injuries. So I think my 2 biggest injuries was when I was doing King Kong. Both of them. I was doing King Kong and I broke my foot. I broke a bone in my foot and had to have it surgically removed because it shattered into a billion pieces. And I was told that I probably wouldn't dance again, that it was a pretty big injury, and it was a lot for the age I was at and where my career was going. But I quickly pivoted and said, that's fine, I'll do something else. And I spent a whole year focusing on acting and singing. And it's almost like I said, okay, but no. I said, well, I might not dance, but I'll do this. And that was a blessing and a curse because it was a really hard time, and it felt like everything just got ripped out from under me, and I was still quite young. I think I was 22 23, and it took a year to recover from that. And it also was the struggle of not being in a company, but not being in a company, and trying to do the shows, but then feeling like I was failing at trying to do it. And then I really struggled with motivation over that year that I was injured, because it was fine at the start, and then it became really difficult. And I remember just sitting on a couch one day, just procrastinating, just staring out the window, being like, watching, I don't know, birds outside for hours. I was like, what are you doing? You know, you could be using this time. And that's really, it's easier said than done than actually. And I remember creating this little chart for myself, and I had like Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, and I just had 30-minute slots or 20-minute slots. And I said, what do I want to work on for myself? And they weren't all to do with artistic areas. Some of them were read, you know, because I just was lost and I was feeling so sorry for myself instead of being proactive about this. And so I put vocal lesson, like sing, work on your dialects, read, whatever it might be.
Making
Alexander
a structure
technique.
for yourself,
Yeah, and you know, lo and behold, you get to ticking off the first one, and I was meant to sing for 20 minutes and I actually sung for 2.5 hours. Okay, I was meant to read a play and I've actually read 2, you know, so it actually was, and there was ebb and flow of that, but it had something that kept me accountable at the time. Again, it's a little bit blurry because I think my work, I'd say ethic, but my work passion can drag it into maybe a area where I work too much and I'm too dedicated to loving it. But it was really helpful. And then it healed eventually. You know, you struggle for a few more months, and I got into another show, which was Sweet Charity at the time, and I was very fearful of it. Yes, it hurt. Yes, I had to move through a whole bunch of other things, and now it's a distant memory and a story that I tell. And then the second injury was a pretty crappy one. It was after the 1.5 or 2 years of COVID we had just had, and I just started rehearsals for Moulin Rouge. I had this new outlook on life and this passion for dance, and I was so ready, and I was so fit, and I'd worked my butt off for the months leading up to that to really be prepared to not injure myself, because I knew it was such a demanding show. And I wanted to rise to the challenge. And in week 2 or something, I broke my rib. We were doing a lift and we were holding it for a really long time. And I didn't feel it at first, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a little bit tender." And then as the days got on, it got worse and worse. And the panic of that one was a pretty awful experience,
especially in rehearsals.
Yeah, it was a real kick in the teeth, because I really was feeling passionate about this project. I was really felt wanted and validated, not in the way of like, I felt like everyone in that show and in that company, now creatives, made you feel so special and so thankful that we were
as
there.
Individuals as well.
Yes, and so I was having the best time, and then this happened, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. But I was the only person who benefited from COVID and the lockdowns, because it so happened that we got locked down for about 12 weeks. It took about 12 weeks to heal. I didn't come back as strong as possible, because when you've got a broken rib, you can't do a lot. But it all worked out fine, and I dealt through a lot of tears, a lot of questioning, a lot of self-doubt, but in the end, now it's another great story to tell. And hopefully people are like, oh, okay, I'm injured too. And it's fine. And it's really common in what we do, because we're so physically demanding, and it's so intense what we do every day. There isn't a downtime unless you're unemployed, you know? And even then you're still working towards the next project.
And then you obviously went on and did Moulin Rouge for quite a long time.
2 years and 7 months or something.
That's a long show. I mean, specifically for Australia. I mean,
I've never done a show that long, and I never thought I would either. I thought I had about a 9-month to 12-month kind of...
Because there was probably breaks where you signed again, was it? Or was it...
Yeah, but like 2 weeks.
Right.
But like not many. We didn't have... I think, I can't remember. It wasn't like you've got a 6-week layoff, go have a great holiday. But that show was one of the most remarkable things to ever happen to my life. And the people, the creatives, the show itself, the company, it was exactly what I needed at that time in my life. And it was really hard work, so don't be fooled. Sometimes I was, you know, there was some times where I was literally taped head to toe, and I would just be like...
It's a tough show. I remember watching it going, this is an amazing show. Don't think it's for me.
And I felt that in the audition. I didn't audition at the start, and I was just like, oh, well, it's a pop show, and I thought I was a Broadway belter, a showgirl, and so I was like, well, I'm going to open my mouth and they're going to be stop singing, please.
No.
And then the choreography was so dynamic.
So good.
But it was it was the music and the choreography that drew me into wanting to be a part of it and going to this audition. And then working with the team in the audition room is what won me over. And I remember thinking, you know what, I didn't have any connection to it other than that was the most incredible audition experience I've ever had. Thank you for giving me back a piece of remembering why I love this and what I can
Isn't it special?
bring. Yeah, it was amazing.
When you have experiences like that. I know now a lot of the auditions that I do, as soon as I walk in, it's just this feeling when you're seeing a director, how they're talking, how they're maneuvering around the place, or even to the people at the front, that's, reception and stuff. It's all this team and
you want it to be the right fit, I think. And I'm learning that as I'm getting older, is that I want someone to want me in their show as much as I want to learn from them and be in their show. Yeah. And if that doesn't fit, I would rather not try and shove a square peg in a round hole, because I think it's not enjoyable for all these. I want someone to feel passionate about working with me and be like, yes. And I've really had that quite a bit in my career. I especially find it, I've worked with Dean Bryant, Andrew Hallsworth, Matthew Frank a few times, and those people have really Mitchell Butel was amazing. Like, these people drew that passion out of me and said, we love what you do what you do. And that was so empowering to be able to have that. Moulin Rouge felt that for me, really like, we're going to create your version, and every person in the show had their version, and then as a team,
it always works so much better.
It was amazing, and I felt that from the very second I walked into the room. So
how good.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I was very thankful for it.
Well, I loved watching you as ever, killing it on stage.
My favourite blonde wig.
Yes, I loved it. It was so
Blondes do have more fun.
There you go. Hey listeners, if you're interested in yoga, Pilates, or even becoming a yoga teacher, I highly recommend you come and check out the Australian Yoga Academy. It's located in the heart of Chapel Street in Melbourne, with daily yoga and Pilates classes, as well as yoga teacher training to get you prepared to step onto the other side of the mat. Whether you're here to be a teacher or not, you can come to the Australian Yoga Academy and find something for you. They also house Reiki, osteo, and physiotherapy, and they're really just revolutionizing the way that we look at our bodies and also connect together as a community. Whether you're a beginner or a daily yogi, the Australian Yoga Academy has something for you. The Dive podcast is also filmed here and houses our sound therapy sessions each and every Monday. To receive up to 28 days of unlimited yoga and Pilates, go onto their website, www.australianyogaacademy.com, today to check out their generous intro offers for yourself. Now, that's enough from me. Let's get back to the episode. Coming into now a little bit more about comparison, and we actually spoke a little bit about, competition in the industry. What's your experience been with where constantly in an audition you can feel competitive? It's certainly natural to compare yourself to other people.
Look, I can only speak from my experience, and I really try to analyse the truth in what I feel in certain moments. And I love teaching full-time students, full-time dance students in particular, but full-time students who want a career. And that's where I feel like when I'm teaching, my expertise can lie, because I'm like, I've experienced this. It might not resonate with you, and it might not feel right for you, but I've experienced it. So I would love to share my versions of this. And I think comparison, along with self-doubt, are the killers of artistic creation and artistic thriving. And I think that people need confidence. And I think that you can take your confidence away yourself, or you can give it over to someone. And sometimes you can't help that, and sometimes you can. But I think with comparison, I have felt, and if I'm going to be really, really honest, very little comparison to other people, more so to myself. And if I have felt comparison to another person, it's usually me saying, they're just so much better than me, and not in a negative way and not in a derogatory way to that person and their skills. I'm always just like, why would you possibly want me when you could have that person? So, and I think everyone's version of comparison is very different. Other people might not feel that. And I think it's important to be honest about that, because it is a part of, we literally line up next to each other and they say, which person do we want? But from my experience now, and I'm not a creative, so I have been in audition rooms, which I find very fascinating, and to see, I think I audition terribly. I'm always so nervous. Auditions and opening night are just, if I could skip those two things, it would be a very great life for me. But I don't know, so I can only talk on what I feel and what I think. And I think that you're really actually never in competition with anyone. That's the crazy thing. So I wish I could tell myself that, because I think that we're so different as people. Even if someone has the same skill set as you, same image as you, same similar personality traits, innately when you walk into a room, you're either right for the role or you're not. And if they do even have two people, there is one person who's meant to play that role. Of course, maybe you can get that wrong, but then it's not for you. Then it's something else. And I've always thought that what's for you won't go past you. And there have been jobs that maybe I thought, I'm so right for this, or I hope that I do well, and then you get cut straight away. Yeah. And that's fine, and it's still upsetting, but then you've got to go, oh no, because if that's not for me, there is something else. And then I've gotten jobs where I'm like, why me? Oh, that's a wrong choice on your behalf, but then it's been the most amazing experience. And I was like, oh, I was the right person for it. So I think being honest about comparison, and I'll throw in self-doubt there as well, is really important, and to talk about it. But also, we have to do a lot of work on ourselves as performers. And gosh, I'm far from perfect, and I've got so much more work to do. But my comparison lies in thinking that everyone else is more worthy of something than probably I am. And that's nor here nor there. It's just something I experience. Yeah. And then I think going back to having the right match of things, the right people around you, the right friends, the right mentors, it can dissipate a little bit. Like, I love, there can be versions of comparison. Like if you're in a dance class, you don't want comparison and you don't want competition. You want a version of competition that's filled with love and passion, because I want to dance next to someone that's really good. I want to dance with the people that are better than me. Yes. There is no better. I want to dance with people that are different to me, because we actually are. And I look and I go, that's amazing. I want to learn from you. And I truly think that is my truth. I've definitely compared myself and said, oh, that person's so much better than me, or this person. And then my amazing singing teacher, Tim Smith, how many times we've talked about how much I doubt myself. And he'll be like, yeah, but you're different and you have different qualities. And yes, you might not be Beyonce, though I really wish I was. Or, you might not be this person or like this person, but you're you, and what you can do, other people probably envy as well and look at the same thing. And so when you have that epiphany and realize that we all have a gift that's different and can share, and it kind of releases that comparison and that competitiveness to be like, oh, I know this is such a lame thing to say, but there is room for everyone. There really is, and a different time for different people.
Amazing. I mean, tick, that's it. I mean, that's great. We've had a few different people talk about comparison, and as always, it's always your own experience, and that's all we can,
absolutely
expect. But I love that you put that in. A lot of the things we think we're comparing ourselves, we're really just doing it towards ourselves, and that in our...
And our insecurities. Like, we are riddled. No, I am riddled. I won't say we. With insecurities. Yeah.
Well, I think you're not alone. I think a lot of people are.
100%. No, it's funny because I talk to full-time students, and it doesn't go away. You learn to manage it better, and you ebb and flow through different insecurities, I think. But it doesn't go away. Yeah. And in fact, it can grow in some areas. So, when I'm sitting there listening to a class of students singing for me, I say, are you nervous? Because I would be. If I had to stand up and sing for you right now, I would be extremely nervous. I would be doubtful. Yeah. And you might be sitting there as a student looking at the teacher or the mentor thinking, well, you're amazing. You wouldn't be. You've done this, and this. But no, actually, we're all, and it happens when you go back to an audition room, you all start on the same playing field. It's no different. And it's the same, I think, for creatives and producers and everyone. Everyone is just as nervous or, trying to create something that's starting from the start.
Yes, amazing. And that's so good that you can... I think a lot of people will get a lot out of hearing that we're all starting at the same level when we go back to auditions, and we're all still battling our own insecurities.
Absolutely. Do you know, every audition I go into, I just had an audition a few months ago and I was very chill about it. I was like, I'm not going to get this. So this is a good experience. I should go into auditions. I just knew it wasn't right. But I was like, I love this song. This is going to be nice. I know the team sitting there. Hi, guys. This is so good. Hi. Great to see you. I was more excited about seeing people. Yeah. And I stood on the X And I had a dress on and my knees started shaking. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Why am I nervous? I'm not nervous about this. But my body had this visceral feeling that I was like, okay, it looks like I'm still nervous. And I've been on opening nights that the same things happen. And so it's just important to remember that maybe it looks like we've all got our stuff together, but we don't.
Absolutely not.
We don't. It doesn't change.
No, and I think if anything, over the shows that we do and people do, you just get to learn to be more reflective and more aware of how you are, so that you don't let these things start to control you.
Derail you and control you.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And you want that balance in life where you can still let it affect you. You can still cry about something. You can still feel angry or sad or anxious. But then taking a deep breath and being like, okay, we'll feel this and then pass through it.
Coming in back into your career, have you had any experience with performance anxiety? I know you were saying about like opening nights, you get anxious and stuff. Has there been specific moments where you've experienced that, and maybe how today you go about with performance anxiety?
Yeah, I've ebbed and flowed through that, and that all comes down to confidence, really. And for me, it's the confidence I have in myself and the self-doubt. I'm a very critical thinker of myself, and I will constantly, and I reckon so many people can resonate with this. 10 people could say, you were amazing. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that. That makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
But tell me more. But no. I'm like, oh, really? Like, oh, well, thank you. I feel really honored that you think that, but it doesn't feel what's important to me.
Yes.
Then I can hear one negative thing. One negative thing. And I'm like, vroom.
Yeah.
I was like,
But what?
I'm terrible, I should quit. And do you know how many times I've said, I should quit, I'm terrible. And someone like Todd Patrick's been on the phone being like, you're not quitting. You're going to be fine. And, I don't know the answer to that. And I wish that I had this like miracle quote to be like, but I don't. Yeah. And I still get nervous and I still worry about not being good enough or what people are going to think. And I hope that one day, by just being even open about that, I can release that. And I always say to myself, on opening night, why get so worried? I guess it's because I care. Yeah. It's because I deeply love what I do and am passionate about it. And I don't care about being the best, but I care about doing service to myself and the piece and the people around me. So I think I always feel on opening night, don't disappoint the people that gave you this chance, the people that believe in you, and don't disappoint yourself. Yeah. But then if you analyse that, disappoint what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to forget your lyrics, you'll sing a bung note, you'll fall over. All of those things I've done many of times.
Yes, same here.
And they're actually funny.
Yes.
So really, if I came off opening night, I was like, how about the fact that I forgot the lyrics to Defying Gravity? That didn't happen, but say it did. Like, okay, then that's what happened. And then I'll sit in a podcast one day and be like, well, you know what I did one day. So I'm trying, that's what I'm trying to, it still doesn't take out the internal feeling. I mean, and you can do all the other things. I'm just slapping it down with the truth of like, I don't know. But then there is breathing techniques, and Ryan Gonzalez, who played opposite me, who's one of my bestest friends, and I just adore every part about them on and off stage, would use the Wim Hof breathing technique a little, and like they would always encourage me to join in with them, and I was like, this could be so helpful, but I can't do it, like they were so zen and centered in that. So they would always be really calm in stressful situations, and I'd come off stage, I'm like, did you feel my shaking? Did you feel my legs shaking? And they're like, yes. They were very good influence, but like different people use different things, and I don't know what that is yet. But I think acknowledging that it exists, and also again that everyone feels the same thing no matter how much experience, and would have a different element of it. Some people can be really chill and cool on an opening night and be like, oh, I don't care. And that they might have something else that they have to battle along the journey at a different time.
And everyone's going through different things. Yeah.
100%.
Well, to finish off, I mean, we've explored so many different things from, injury on a show, comparison, competition, self-doubt, anxiety, all of the things that we all go through. Just to finish off, I'd love to ask a final question, and I ask this to everyone, and that's, if you had to give any advice to younger Sam that's just starting out, what would that be?
I find this question really difficult because I remember young Sam so well. And it would probably be what I say to full-timers, full-time dance students, full-time performing arts students. This is my belief. And there's probably directors, musical directors, choreographers, producers out there that are like, we don't believe that. But I actually don't think a career in the arts has anything to do, here's my big bomb.
I'm loving it.
My students will be like, yeah, she said that a million times, with skill. I just don't. I don't think it has anything to do with talent. And the reason I say it has to do with passion, work ethic, love of it, and dedication, because I think that skill and talent can come from those things. Yes, some people are born with this incredible genius talent. Unfortunately, that wasn't me, but I was born for a love of it. So again, I can only share with people what I know and what I've experienced, and another person would think the opposite. But I think if you love something enough and you're passionate about it and you want to share that, then it forced me to work hard. So I think whether I would tell myself that, I think I already knew that. And I think that was the thing I grabbed onto and helped me not compare in times that I would, because I was like, well, that's that person's journey. I would just say to her, it's going to work out. Have the mistakes. I would try to take away a bit of my perfectionism, which I still do now. Fail. And whatever version of that is for you. You know, I don't know what failure is for each different person. I can probably guess what it feels like for me, but actually it's never failure, it's growth, because you need those times that feel hard. You know, our industry is full of the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. There ain't much in between.
At all.
Probably why everyone during COVID was like, oh, I can just relax now for a second. But yeah, I think that's what it would be.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing everything today. I know a lot of people are going to get so many different things out of it. And if you have any questions for myself or Sam, you can email us, as always, at info@thedive.com.au. Thank you for being
You're
on.
the best. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Dive Podcast, the fastest growing support platform for performing artists. For more resources, tools, techniques, and tips, you can head to our website, www.thedive.com.au. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review for us. And if you feel like this episode could resonate with anyone else in your network, feel free to share it online or share it with a friend directly. Be sure to check us out on Instagram with the handle @thedive.com.au, where we come on each week and share a little bit more about the behind the scenes of the podcast and any upcoming workshops, classes, and offers with The Dive. Until next time, I hope that you stay passionate, keep showing up, and just know that if you're going through challenges right now, it's going to be so worth it when you are in a show and living your dream.